Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, where today I'm planning on busting a few myths. Fancy joining me? Good. Now, in the last week, we've seen layoffs from major publishers such as BuzzFeed, Refinery29 and Verizon, and so many more. Monetization in the era of the duopoly is harder than ever. That's something that a lot of publishers are finding. But what can they do to compete? And yes, their first-party audience data might be the key to unlocking new revenue opportunities. But how do they do it? Now, Jason Downie, he's the Chief Strategy Officer at Lotame, and he's coming to join me on the show today to talk about this and so much more. And Lotame is one of the most popular data solutions companies for publishers, including some pretty big names out there, such as Bloomberg. And we're going to talk about how publishers can take advantage of their data for greater monetization, as well as revenue diversification. And along the way, we might bust a few myths around the industry, and much, much more too. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way back to the US so we can speak with Jason Downie, Chief Strategy Officer at Lotame. So massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Jason Downie. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Lotame. Lotame has been around since 2007, providing publishers and marketers and agencies technology to allow them to collect, organize, and activate their data. I've been at Lotame since 2010, kind of managing the data business for Lotame, which is the Lotame Data Exchange, or LDX. Recently, in the last year or so, I've moved into the strategy role to kind of look at the Lotame's business across both data and the SaaS-based technology.
Now, Lotame is a hugely popular data solutions company for some big publishers such as Bloomberg, just to pick one name out of the air there. But can you tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems that you solve for some of the biggest publishers in the world?
Sure, yeah. So publishers have, obviously, as folks that are listening here will know that publishers have unique challenges today that have been blossoming over the last 5 years or so, 5 to 10 years, with the duopoly of Facebook and Google, and how can publishers compete in this day and age. And so Lotame offers a lot of different solutions to allow publishers to compete, to collect data from lots of different sources, to organize that data in many different ways across many different mediums. So collecting data from desktop and mobile and OTT, connected TV, and then joining them together to organize that data into different audience groups, and then run analytics across those, and then activate or distribute that data wherever it needs to go, and then run campaigns on their O&O properties as well as off-site, as well as to monetize their data with their clients, to name a few.
Now, one of the reasons I invited you on the show today was because in the last few weeks alone, we've seen layoffs from major publishers such as BuzzFeed, Refinery29 and Verizon. So monetization in the era of the duopoly is harder than ever. But in your opinion, what can publishers do to compete?
Yeah, that's a good question, Neil. I think the key for publishers today is to really take control of their data and to understand it, to make sure that they collect all of it that they can, and to organize it as best they can, and then to kind of let marketers know where to get it and how to get it and why it's great. And so, that's really the key. And so, big publishers need to really embrace the era of data. If you think about what makes publishers great for marketers is, their one-to-one relationships with consumers, and they can create content to deliver, custom messaging. And so the feedback loop of content creation and then delivery and then analyzing that content creation and the audiences of folks that visited it and then and read it, consumed it, and then feeding that back to create more content is super important that that publishers do that. And you're right, it's harder and harder. So understanding that storyline and that process is crucial.
And I think many publishers are told that first-party audience data is the easiest way of unlocking new revenue. But the more complicated aspect of that is, how do publishers take advantage of their own data for greater monetization? I mean, what kind of experience have you had with that?
Yeah, so I mean, first-party data is key, of course, and that's what I've been talking about as we start here. But blending that first-party data with, second-party data and third-party data for analytics and activation is key as well. If a publisher has a lot of kind of endemic context, say they're a health provider, they may not have demographic data, they may not have other non-endemic data, and using technology to source other types of data to create a story that can be more granular, more exciting, more differentiated, is really important for publishers to be able to sell more.
So how do you think some of that same data can also unlock revenue diversification as well? Because I know that's an area that a lot of people are chasing, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's all kinds of new initiatives around, setting up real world events, for example, around the content. I know there's some kind of female lifestyle publishers that are setting up exercises classes in the real world, for example, and data is driving, those invites and where the locations of those will be set up, for example. There's subscription revenue and growing that base of business, which is a recurring revenue, and data is super important for that effort to look at your customers that have subscribed, like your heavy readers, your heavy users and consumers. What do they look like? And then how do you, build audiences to go get more of those and really, supercharge your subscription growth efforts.
Now, when it comes to the publishing industry and the digital transformation, it seems like everybody's got an opinion, especially online. So are there any common myths that we can finally lay to rest around it all today?
Well, I think, like you mentioned the layoffs, you mentioned, folks are saying, media and publishing is dying. And I think it's necessary. I think the myth is that you can't succeed there. And we have tons of clients. You mentioned Bloomberg. We have several more. I mean, Hearst, Advanced Internet, WebMD, the Weather Company, Tribune. In the UK, we have the Ozone Project, which is all the major news publications. In Australia, New Zealand, we have some of the biggest publishers and broadcasters there. And all of those folks are succeeding at one level or another by being smarter and more innovative about their data. At the end of the day, there's still massive audiences to monetize, and they just have to make sure they find the right way to do that and right size the business to do so.
And when it comes to technology, are there any particular emerging technologies or technology that you think is going to continue to disrupt the publishing industry over the next few years?
Yeah, I think the big thing now is kind of one of the big things now is OTT, of course, and mobile and desktop all converging together using graphing technologies and statistical identification, especially in the era of GDPR and privacy here in the US is beginning to legislate as well. So finding a way to be privacy compliant and then also continue to tie the right messaging to the right consumers on the right devices at the right time, using that graphing technology is continuing to be more important as we go forward.
And it seems that both in and outside of the publishing industry, personalisation is a big key theme at the moment. But do you think more personalisation is inevitable? And especially with this increasing awareness of echo chambers and only surrounding ourselves with things that we do like, do you think that's a good or a bad thing in your opinion?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, I once saw a speaker at a conference named Gary Vee, who you may know, who dynamic speaker, and he really hit me with something he said hit me several years ago, which is we live in our day jobs, like we all, in whatever industry and whatever job you have, you live inside your job and you see the world through your job colored glasses, and so we sit in our towers and we talk about ad tech and we talk about the consumer. At the end of the day, if you think about yourself, like as a person, that when you leave work, how do you consume content and how do you buy stuff? Like that really can right size your thinking and get you focused on your job. Like I personally consume, like you said, content around what I'm interested in, my sports teams and my music, and I buy things based on, where I go and what I do. And if I see things that are relevant to me and are more personalized, I buy them. I do, and I notice it because of my job that it happens so much in effective advertising and how it really works. And I see how ineffective advertising and stuff that's depersonalized or not personalized doesn't work as well. So if I'm the microcosm of how advertisers make money, then they're going in the right direction, and I think it'll continue.
And what excites you about the road ahead then, especially when it comes towards the kind of role that Lotame is going to play in that future vision that you have too?
Yeah, I think we, as a kind of an independent company that's been around for 12 years now, we have a lot of experience. We've seen a lot of stuff, and we're in a position to really provide lots of different tools we've developed over time for our clients in what we've recently announced as an unstacked sort of way. So we're able to provide point solutions that are best in class for data management, for data analytics, for connecting lots of different devices together, connecting companies together. And it's exciting because data is custom. Not everybody needs full giant end-to-end solutions. People need the cracks filled in their strategies if they're doing different tactics. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is kind of being able to connect advertisers and publishers together in a meaningful way and really make a market. So a lot of our key clients are banding together their inventory and data. Publishers are doing that in order to create scale and create meaningful areas where advertisers can focus their budgets, and that's been fun and exciting to see how throughout the mass of different messaging and different information and confusion, frankly, around all the different tools and companies and tactics that are available, to see folks get lit up and excited when they can say, oh, this looks logical to me and looks like a smart thing for us to do.
Well, if there is anybody listening that wants to find out more information about some of the great work that you're doing with Lotame and busting a lot of myths along the way about the world of online publishing, what's the best way for them to find you online and find out more information about the kind of work that you're doing? And equally, just contact a member of your team if they do have any questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're, of course, at lotame.com, Lotame.com, our company name. And you can find all the information there. We're also on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. And basically, Lotame is obviously pretty unique name, so you can search that across all the social media platforms and places where you consume content and find information about what we're up to.
Well, I'll add all those links to the blog posts that will accompany this podcast. And I've really enjoyed having you on today because there's so much doom and gloom around the publishing industry and the effects that technology is having on it. But just listening to you there, and you're talking to some of the biggest publishers in the world and talking about how they're actually taking advantage of their own data for greater monetization as well as revenue diversification. It really shows that actually technology is a great enabler and nothing to be afraid of. So a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today, Jason.
No, absolutely, Neil. It's been a great pleasure and happy to come back anytime.
Lotame is one of the leading unstacked data solutions companies that helps publishers, marketers and agencies find new customers, increase engagement and grow revenue. Sounds simple, but they make it look easy, but obviously it's much harder than that. But it's their real-time data management technologies, global data marketplaces, and award-winning customer service that make them attractive to their clients who are simply looking for something that's more flexible, scalable, and cost-effective. In fact, anything that's an alternative to those walled-off offerings from large MarTech stack companies. And it's also worth highlighting how Lotame has continuously innovated using technology to become the trusted data solutions company for enterprises, not just in the US, but all over the world. And I'm glad Jason came on today because we did bust a few myths. But if this is your industry, you probably know a little bit more about it than I do, and you're going to know this industry intimately. So I invite you to bust a few myths and share a few insights too. And you can do that by emailing me directly, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Visit my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. You can get me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all at Neil C. Hughes. Send me your feedback, your expertise, and let me share it with the audience here. And maybe, just maybe, we can all learn from each other. And I know I've certainly learned a thing or two from my conversation with Jason. But I want you guys and dolls listening at home to teach me a few things too. So I look forward to your messages. But it's time for me to rest my vocal cords again now, so I'll be ready for action again tomorrow. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.